Welcome to the Access Web Express YouTube channel. Today's video is Hole Making Made Easy Part 2. In Part 1, I showed you just how easy it can be to put holes in Mastercam using the solid selector and operation libraries. In this video, I'm going to show you the new functionality that's coming in 2022 that's going to make that process even easier. If you like what you see here, please subscribe to the channel. So let's go ahead and get started. We're looking at a fairly simple part here. It's just got 5 holes in it. It's a clear and counterbore hole for a 1/2 inch screw. So I'm going to do a review of the process that we talked about in Part 1. So I'm going to select drill. I'm going to hold the control key down and select that solid face. It selects all 5 counterbores. I'm going to go ahead and grab my 1-inch spot drill. And in my linking parameters, I'm going to calculate incremental values from holes and lines. I'm going to calculate the depth from the top of the hole. All of the rest of these values I'm going to say OK to. And then I'm going to recalculate the depth using my depth calculator. And that hole is an 875 hole with a 25 thou chamfer per side. So I'll add 50 to that number. And there we go. Easy enough, right? Now we're going to do the drilled holes. So I'm going to select those cylinders as well. So hold the control key down. It selects all 5 of those cylinders. Hit the green check mark. Grab my drill. And my linking parameters. I'm still going to calculate incremental values from holes and lines, but this time I'm not going to calculate the depth from the top. And the depth, if you remember, is an incremental 0 because of the fact that I've selected this cylinder. And these cylinders are a solid face. And incrementally from the bottom of that solid face is the bottom of the hole. This hole is a different depth. But with this new functionality, and when I say new, it's a couple versions old now, we can select the same diameter holes that are different depths. So I'm going to leave everything else the same here and hit the green check mark. You can see I have got some issues here. My retract's not high enough. So what I need to do is tell my top of stock that that's my top of stock. Incremental or absolute in this case, it's not going to matter. Green check mark. And I get something that looks like that. And you can see that I'm starting to drill just a little bit too high for my taste. So I'm going to change this value to, or I'm going to leave it at incremental. I'm sorry. I'm going to select that face now and recalculate. And you can see that's much better. Okay. All right. The last thing that I need to do is a helical bore to finish those counterbores. I'm going to go ahead and grab those solid cylinders. I'm going to select the 3/8 bull nose. In my linking parameters, I'm still going to calculate incremental values from holes and lines. Let's give it a clearance of 1 inch incremental. Top of stock incremental is that right there. And then my depth is going to be an incremental 0. I want it to go to the bottom of the counterbore. Green check mark that, and there we go. So I've got the 3 processes, if you will. I'm going to go ahead and export those out to my holes 101. And I'm going to call these old 500 clear and counterbore. I'm going to save that. I'm going to say go. It's going to export those 3 toolpaths successfully. Okay, and close this. Works perfectly fine on a block like this. Well, on a block like this, I've got those same counterbored holes. So I right-click, import. I'm going to go import my old 500 clear and counterbores. select those tool paths, say okay, it's going to import them successfully. So now for my counter bore here, I need to go and reselect that geometry. And I'm going to use that functionality where I'm going to select this solid face. Well, you can see on this block, not only do the clear counter bores have this 875 diameter, but so do these through holes. And that's not what I want. I don't want to select these holes. I don't want to apply this process to that. So how do I avoid that? Well, I could find where they are on this list and delete them. I could select everything individually. Not very efficient, right? Same thing with the drilled holes. If I come down here and hold my control key down, it selects all of the 531 or the 1732nd holes. Not what I want. So, and let's go back to this part file. I'm going to delete these toolpaths. In 2022, I have the ability to not only select a solid feature, but I have the ability to select a solid hole. And by that, I mean I can hold the control key down and double click on a feature instead of single clicking on a feature. And if I highlight one of these, you see not only is the counter bore selected, but the entire solid hole is selected. Well, how is that going to make things easier? I'll show you. It's my 1-inch spot drill, my linking parameters. Above my linking parameters, you're going to notice a new tab, and it's called hole segments. And when I click on that, it shows my solid hole. And now I can select the feature that I'm working on. So in this case, it's going to be the counter bore. I'm going to go into my linking parameters and calculate incremental values from holes and lines, calculate depth from top of hole and line. I'm going to set all my values incrementally. I'm going to go in and reset my depth here. So 875 plus 50 thousandths. You can check mark that. There we go. I'm going to do the drill. Again, I can hold the control key down. I can select last over here, previous points. Double click. It selects all 5 of those solid holes. Grab the correct tool. Go into my hole segments. This time, because I want to drill from the top, this is the cylinder I want to drill from, but I want to get my depths from the top. What I can do is select everything. And then in my linking parameters, again, we're going to calculate incremental values from holes and lines. I'm not going to calculate depth from the top of hole and line. My incremental depth is 0. My incremental top of stock is 0. The rest of these numbers, I believe, will work. I'm going to green check mark that. And you can see it adjusts based on the solid holes. Even though this one in the center is longer, it's deeper, it still drills to the bottom. We'll grab the helical bore, control double click, and my linking parameters, I'm going to give it a clearance value of 1 inch. In my hole segments this time, again, I'm just using the cylinder for the counter bore, so I want to select that. In my linking parameters, I'm going to set an incremental depth of 0 and an incremental top of stock as 0 as well. And we're going to use incremental values for everything else. We still need to calculate incremental values from holes and lines. Green check mark, and there we go. So now I'm going to take these, just like I did before, and I'm going to export those out into holes 101. And then this time, instead of old 500, I'm going to call these new. Go ahead and save that. Go ahead and export those. Thank you very much. We'll close this. Now let's go back to this part. So this part, I'm going to go ahead and delete these. And I'm going to import new. Select those toolpaths, check plus. Thank you very much. We'll close this. So now what I have are the 3 toolpaths that I need. And when I go into the parameters for the geometry, I'm going to control double click on that feature, and notice it only selects those features. It ignores these 875 holes because the control double click selects the solid hole, and it looks for that solid hole. Now, because this feature, this hole segment lives in this operation, I can just green check mark this. Everything's already done for me. It's going to work just like I expect it to. I can simply copy and paste this geometry to all the rest of the holes. And we'll just copy and paste those entities down, recalculate, and I'm done. Just like that. I've drilled, spot drilled, and counterbored those 9 features. So I hope you found this interesting and insightful. Please check back to the channel soon. Thank you for stopping by, and have a great day.